a few months ago, I did a Hoya Collection video, and in that video, I had several Hoyas that were kind of struggling, or we were just kind of getting to know each other. So in this video, I thought it would be fun to walk you through a few of my Hoyas that are doing absolutely amazing. Some of them have just really taken off, and I would love to show them to you, a little update, if you will. But first, before we get into it, my name is Shannon. This is Planted 386. Thank you so much for stopping by and clicking. I appreciate you spending your time with me. If you love planty things and planty content, then hi, welcome. I hope you will consider subscribing. We do all things planty over here. I am newer to YouTube, learning a lot, and I am absolutely loving this platform so much. If you're returning, I appreciate you being here more than you know. I look forward to your comments every single week or every single time I upload. And it's just been a blast getting to know some of you, and just thank you for all the tips and tricks and just some of the advice that you've shared along the journey. Yeah, without further ado, let's get into some of these amazing Hoyas. Okay, I had to lose the earrings. I felt like they were super distracting. But the first one I have for you is my Hoya Krohniana Super Silver. I believe it's Super Silver. I got this from Blue Moon several months ago now. I've had it, and it has been a little bit puzzling to me. For the longest time, this did absolutely nothing for me. I had it in soil for a while, and then I ended up putting it into semi-hydro, because sometimes I find with Hoyas, if I put them into semi-hydro, they will just pop off. But that kind of wasn't the case with this one, and it ended up just, again, doing nothing. It didn't suffer, it just never grew. So I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and try to pot this a little differently. So this clear pot became available in my stash, and I think this is something that I thrifted a while back. One thing about this clear pot is it does tend to soak up moisture quicker than other pots, and so I kind of felt like that would be a good option for this guy. I just felt like he wouldn't dry out, or he wouldn't, I couldn't overwater him this way. So I have a little layer of semi-hydro down here, and then I have my soil mixture, and then at the top, what I've done is I have just kind of added the little picks. I'm trying to get these amazing roots to dig in, and hopefully this is going to explode even more. Once I put it into this vessel, it did start to grow for me, and so I have some new growth points on here that I can see, and I'm just kind of hoping that it's going to establish itself in this pot and take off. It's already given me this whole little section here, so I'm really hopeful that we will make something of this. I love the variegation. I think these leaves are absolutely beautiful. Some of them are just, my goodness. So it did just get watered. I believe it was yesterday. It is definitely, it needs to dry out a little bit, but I only water once a week unless absolutely necessary. So I think he is gonna be fine. Okay, you guys, next on my list is this Hoya cumingiana. This is one that I picked up not long after, or not long before, I should say, doing that video. And the funny thing is, it was so cute. I want to say it was around Mother's Day, so around May, and I bought it. It came in this cute little pot with this precious little gold heart trellis, all decorated. It had the frilly fancy moss, the decorative moss. It was well displayed, if you will. But it was becoming dry too quickly, and so I ended up repotting it, and it did not like that at all. So I ended up chopping it all the way back, because it just was on its way out. I was losing leaves, it was yellowing, it just really freaked out. So I took all the cuttings that I could salvage and I tried to propagate them. I had no luck propagating this plant, but this came back. Something in my mouth. This came back and it came back viciously, you guys. Like the amount at which this has grown is, it just blows my mind how quickly this has come back. Understand that I got this in, I'm sorry, I got this in March. I would say by May, it was completely down to nothing. And so the fact that in a few months, this plant has totally like reestablished itself is absolutely wild to me. I kind of am falling in love with it. I keep it in this Plantlets cabinet over here. It seems to, and my Hoyas in general seem to absolutely love the Barina pink lights. And so in my Plantlets cabinet, I have the pink lights in there. And this thing, like I said, it has grown like a weed. And I kind of just love it. I love the way that it grows. It's very different than any other Hoya that I have. And oddly enough, I recently uploaded a short. I was, for the first time, trying to propagate my Peperomia Hope. Unfortunately, went south, and I think the only way that I was going to salvage it, honestly, was to propagate. So I did a little bit of research, and I ended up chopping the whole thing, and I'm hoping that it comes back. But if in the case that it doesn't, I think this may scratch that itch for me. It does remind me a lot of that plant, and like I said, I really love the way that this grows, just kind of everywhere, you know? And I just chopped it. I filmed this video. This is the second time. The first one, there was no audio. And right after that video, I went to go put this back in its spot in the cabinet, and I was like, you know, this is just too crazy. I need to chop it. So I cut like the tips. This was actually a little longer. And just in that time, it's like already sealed itself off, and I feel like preparing for its next shoot. It is just crazy. I have a new growth point here that's activated. And then down below, I have another one. And it's so wild because it's in this like, it's like it's not even really supported, but it just loves it. It loves it. I know the soil looks totally dried out and crazy, but it's due to be watered. So look at the roots, you guys. Like, that is so crazy. This has been drying out on me pretty quickly, but I keep a backup reservoir in here. And literally, I will say this is a very thirsty Hoya. It is a very thirsty Hoya. I could probably honestly water it twice a week and it would be happy. I'll definitely water it before I put it back in the cabinet. But if you're looking for a easy Hoya that just is kind of unique and different than some of the ones that you see, you know, your Carnosa series, if you will, that one is so cool. I also feel like it is a little difficult to come by. Maybe that's just in my area, but I've only ever seen it in the wild the one time, and I ended up picking it up. I believe I picked it up at Lowe's back in March. Okay, so next is Hoya Sunrise. I hear stories about this being so easy for some people, and like they just have these beautiful specimens. And for me, this has been one of my more tricky Hoyas. I don't know what that is or why, but we have not gotten along. I got this as a 2-leaf cutting. This was one of my very first Hoyas. I got it at my very first plant swap, and that is it. That is all I can show you. But it did nothing for the longest time. And only since I filmed that video have I really seen some nice growth. So all of this is new. And it had put out this little shoot here, and I thought I would be slick, take it out of the Plantlets cabinet and kind of put it in ambient, and it was like, nope. So it seems to have aborted that shoot, So I don't know, you guys. I don't know. If you have any tips on this one, let me know. I've put it back in the cabinet. It'll probably live in the cabinet, I guess. That's just where it wants to be, unless I get discouraged enough for it to wind up out in the pergola. That's kind of where plants go when they're either just far too large for the house, or I'm just like, you know what? I've done all I can do here. And a lot of times I'll put them out there and they'll just take off. But I'm gonna give it a little bit more time, and if it doesn't, I'll give it through this winter, and if it doesn't do anything for me, by spring, I will throw it outside and just see what happens. But anyways, we do have quite a bit of growth since that first video, and I thought that I would share that with you. I did, at that time of the video, I had this in semi-hydro, and it was also in my spare room, which gets a lot of nice morning light, but is definitely not a room that gets any afternoon light. So what I have realized is alocasia love that room. They seem to explode over there. I'm gonna do a video coming up on just like other plants in my collection that have just gone crazy over the last couple months, and I have an alocasia in that. I put it in that room, literally was like, forget it, I'm over you, and it's just like, it's so beautiful now. I'm like shocked. Anyways, that is Hoya Sunrise. We've gone on far too long here. On to the next. Okay, you guys, this next one is so cool, and I am so in love with this Hoya. I adore it. It is, if it is on your wish list, and if it's one you've contemplated, literally just hit the buy button. It will bring you so much joy. This is my Hoya Wilbur Graves. I got this one I don't have the date on. I've been trying to be better about that since starting my channel. That way I have a nice reference point for you guys. But I would say I bought this back in, we'll say April, roughly April or May. And I bought it as a either 2 or 4 leaf cutting. I will show you the mother vine in just a second, but in that time, in that little bit of time, that one vine grew so much that I was able to chop it, prop it, put it in some soil, and I now have this lovely little pot of it. Not only have these cuttings taken off, or rooted, but each one is taking off. Each one has this like whole tendril. There's 2 reasons why I decided to chop that one vine. I fell in love with the variegation so much that I was like, oh my gosh, I want a full pot of this. It's going to be so beautiful someday. I just saw the potential. And the second reason is as the vine started to grow, it started to like lessen in variegation. So I kind of wanted to preserve as much of that as I could. Now on this vine, we definitely see some beautiful variegation coming here, and I think this vine is going to be amazing. This one is seemingly similar to this vine here, so I'm kind of thinking these 2 are probably going to be around the same. I do have some lovely new little leaves coming in here. It's too soon to tell. But then over here, I have 2 more growth points that are coming along. I hope you guys can see the variegation. Let me move this tag because that's kind of distracting. Stunning, right? So what I am going to do is I'm going to continue to propagate these vines that don't have a ton of variegation. And I'll probably start these in a separate pot. And then anything that looks like this, I'm going to continue to chop and put back into this pot. So let me show you the main mother vine. Here it is. So this is the main mother vine. So this is the potential that I'm talking about. Delicious, you guys, absolutely delicious. Those are the 2 leaves that it came with. It may have come with 4, but I genuinely don't remember if this is a 2 or 4 leaf cutting. I got it from our resident Hoya gal in our local group, but even since cutting this long vine to make this pot, it's already like, look how much you can see where I cut. And look how much it's coming back already. Crazy. But yeah, this is just such a beautiful specimen. It has been so easy to grow. Typical carnosa, just like water me, I'm happy, and let me live my beautiful life. I don't know. I love carnosas. They're just amazing. And I think if this is one you've been thinking about, I know it's a little bit pricey. And so I understand that the reservation before just clicking the buy button, but it's definitely easygoing. I do have this in a cabinet, but it would be happy and ambient. I'm pretty confident in that. I do plan on eventually putting the this pot in ambient. It's just, this is kind of like a work in progress. So I'm keeping it in the cabinet because it does cause it to go crazy. But eventually I do plan on putting it in a lovely basket or a beautiful pot and just letting it go wild. So that's my plan with that one. Next, and don't mind my makeshift trellis situation. It is kind of like just what I had around the house at the time. But this is my Hoya Parasitica Black Margin, and this is another one kind of like the Sunrise that gave me a run for my money basically from the get-go. I did get this as, again, like another 2 or 4 leaf cutting. And for the longest time, it did absolutely nothing for me. I actually thought maybe this has flat mites. It finally started to do something. You can kind of see these leaves here, how weird they look. They never really formed into anything. So I ended up putting this one in semi-hydro. Once I did that, it did start to take off, and that's been since that video. This whole shoot over here, got a nice little tendril coming, and all of this has come since putting it in the semi-hydro in this sort of situation. But in addition to this lovely growth, I also have been able to cut it, prop it, and get some more just some more vines coming. So yeah, again, this is another one that's kind of a project. I'm happy to see that it is happy now. And you know, I'm kind of glad that I didn't give up on this one. I'm really glad, because when you look at it like this, right, like this part that I had, it's really underwhelming. It's kind of sad. And honestly, it was really on the chopping block. That is why I decided to make, I was like, whatever happens, happens. And once I did that, it started to take off. And now that I'm getting these larger leaves, I literally cannot get over how beautiful this Hoya is. I mean, not only does it have some splashing on the leaves, but it also has the beautiful black margin that it's known for. Yeah, it's really a beautiful plant. I do feel like these leaves should be juicier, but then again, I'm not 100%. Also, if you guys know, and you can see, there's like little black spots. Can you guys see that? I don't know if you can. But what are those on the back of Hoya leaves? It is exactly the same color as the margin. If it's nothing bad, I think it's kind of cool. But anyways, that is my Hoya Parasitica Black Margin. I'm going to put this in a beautiful pot. It is going to hopefully come together and be an amazing plant someday. But yeah, I'm really happy with the growth that I've seen. Okay, you guys, this next one, I don't even really know how I'm going to show it to you. And I'm also wildly amazed at how this plant grows, just the whole thing in general. Let's just get into it because it's kind of mind-blowing to me. This is Hoya kerrii and variegated. I got this at EFG Orchids, which is a local grower, several months ago. I've had this Hoya for a long time. It was another one that I got back in early days, and it never did much. Is that right? It never it never really did much. That's right? Why am I questioning that? Anyway, it didn't do a whole lot, and for the longest time, and I know Hoyas are slower to grow, but I just kind of felt like it was on a trellis, and I just kind of felt like there must be something about the setup that it's not liking. So I ended up again popping it into my semi-hydro, and boom, it just started to grow. So I think in the Hoya video, I'm pretty sure from this point on, so can you guys see that? From like these leaves, from here on is all new growth. I believe these leaves were here. Like, I believe we had this. I just think these top two leaves we didn't have, and then this enormous tendril. Like, you guys, can we even take a peek at that? Look, this thing is like crazy. Like, this leaf is formed, which is exciting. So what I'm noticing is this guy, he likes to put out his tendril, and only then will he produce the leaves. The leaves take some time to come in, so for a while you're just kind of stuck with this like crazy tendril. The reason that it looks like bent in all these zigzag motions is because I actually had this in my Plantlets cabinet, and when this thing started to take off, you guys, it would grow so quickly. Like, every week I would have to reposition this because the tendril would get too long in any one direction. So I ended up, like, the only solution was to basically grow this vine like with the shelves. So basically it just kind of tethered up the shelves, and that's kind of why it has those bends and folds. Since I don't know, 2 or 3 days, since filming the first video, I have then and now put him on my Vitstro shelf. It is an ambient, so I don't know. This cabinet doesn't stay like, you know, at 70, 80% anyways, so it should be fine. I believe I run around 50% ambient most of the time. I'm not so much worried about that as the lighting, but this Vitstro is fixed with the yellow Barinas in addition to the pink ones, so I think it's going to be fine. And the reason that I moved it is because there's just nowhere else for it to go in that cabinet. Like, there's no more room. So yeah, I just have her funneling now around the Vitstro. I will take clips of all of these, and I'm sure you guys will see them along the video, but just kind of how they're displayed every day, so you can kind of understand their growing conditions. But yeah, that's it. Don't stare too much at the vessel because it's really nothing to look at and it looks kind of disgusting, but honestly the plant doesn't seem to mind. Another thing that could be playing into some of this crazy growth, like, I know this is so distracting, how do I even, is I did switch up my fertilizer, and I will talk about that in just a moment. I have talked about it already on my channel, but if you've missed it or you're new, I will show it again. And that could definitely, I have seen some pretty wild growth around here, and that's really the only thing that I can think of that I've done differently. So yeah, anyways, beautiful, right? I mean, I'm glad that I stuck it out with this Hoya because I almost gave up on it. I really did. I was just kind of like, I felt like I tried a lot of things and we just weren't getting anywhere. But now I am so glad that I didn't. Like, if all of these leaves like come to fruition, this is gonna be such a stunning plant, and I'm just really grateful to have it. So yeah, Hoya kerrii and are variegated. Okay, you guys, next is Hoya quinquenervia. I've been practicing and I'm pretty sure I got the name down. This girl has absolutely blown my mind with the rate of growth. I'm just like, I cannot even believe it. So in that video, I believe it was just these leaves down here at the bottom. Like, we hadn't started trellising yet. it was a very small plant. In fact, I had it in my, I know it was small because I had it in my little swing pot, and it just, I think it was 3 leaves, you guys, maybe 3 leaves. And since then, this thing has just totally exploded. So I have it again in my semi-hydro mix. It looks absolutely crazy in here, but the plant just seems to love it. It is a thirsty Hoya. I do find myself watering it, like every watering, it's definitely ready to be watered. And another thing that I have noticed about growing this one, this is a brand new leaf. Oh my God, I'm starting to get some of these big, beautiful leaves, super waxy and shiny. So pretty. Look at the tendrils coming off. So one thing I've noticed about growing this is anytime I go to wrap a tendril too soon, it will just abort it. So what I have been doing is just kind of letting the tendrils go for a while, like long enough for me to be able to wrap it a couple times around and then clipping it very loosely. This is not one that seems to like to be clipped or tied too tightly. That's just in my observation. Yeah, another thing is the leaves are so fragile when they are developing that I have a couple spots here where there was supposed to be a leaf and I probably knocked it off or something happened. It is one that I don't typically move around very often because it is quite heavy. But yeah, I'm just super excited to see this start to take off. It could use a little bit of a dusting, I'm noticing. Let me know if you guys have this, a pretty common Hoya, and just your tips on growing it, what you recommend. And also, does this prefer to trail or does it prefer to be on a trellis? Because I feel like it's a Hoya that could kind of go either way. So yeah, any advice on this one, I'd be very grateful. But yeah, just so impressed. Okay, you guys, last on my list is the sweet little Hoya Bella. This one is one that took me on quite the little ride. It definitely got a pretty bad case of spider mites when I first got it. So that was a setback. I did end up cutting it, and once I cut it, it just started to kind of take off after that. So this whole side over here, pretty much from like this part down, is all from past the Hoya video that I did, and it's starting to grow over here, and we have a new little shoot coming here. I kind of realized that this loves to be in bright light in my window. It's in my succulent window actually, and yeah, I mean, I do feel like it's one that's kind of prone to spider mites. You definitely have to treat it and keep up with it, but overall it has just brought me so much joy. This thing, once it is happy, grows like a weed. Like every day this thing gives me a set of leaves, it seems like. It's just crazy. Or like you'll see 2 starting, and then the next day they'll be, you know, a little bit bigger, and then by the 3rd day they're full on. It's just, this thing is crazy. It's crazy. I've contemplated chopping it again, like just chopping this whole side, because I don't really love the way these leaves look. But propagating this has not gone so well for me. So if you guys have any tips on propagating Hoya Bella, let me know. I just kind of whipped up this little hanging planter because I was desperate to try to hang it in the window. Other people I watch will talk about that a lot, like, oh, my Hoya, it's in my north or east or whatever facing window, and I wasn't huge into putting plants in the windows, like hanging, just because I didn't want to make the holes in the walls and da. But John taught me the coolest little hack on how to hang planters, and the hole is like just a little nail hole. So once I found that out, it was like, So I whipped something up just to get this in the window, and it just, yeah, it loves it. So if you've been struggling with your Bella, maybe try popping it into a window. It is on the thirsty side, I would say. She tends to always be ready for her drink. And yeah, I just love it so much. I would love a fuller pot, but I don't know, I'm kind of happy with the way that this looks. I think it's cute. Maybe like 2 more vines, you know? We're working on a new one here though. That's so but yes, that's Hoya Bella. Okay, so before we go, I want to show you this fertilizer because this is what I've been using recently. I have experience with Foliage Focus. I have experience with Super Thrive. I have experience with what was the other one I was using? Oh, Grow Big by Fox Farm. And I watch Jake from Plant Gay for Life, and he grows anthuriums, like amazing anthuriums. And this is what he uses for his anthuriums. And I was like, you know, why not? I'm going to give it a go. So I started using it, and honestly, guys, what can I say? Like, I know this is a little bit like Miracle Grow in general is controversial, it seems, for some reason. Listen, all I know is the original Miracle Grow that comes in the green can that is like tomato food, I literally started using that in my early days out in my yard, and my plants back there have always thrived on that fertilizer. Once I got into the plant journey, I started, you know, watching other creators, and it seemed like a lot of folks were using the liquid fertilizers, and so I just decided, okay, well, you know, I like to try products. I like to try things. And, you know, they were fine. They were fine. I find them to be quite pricey. And, you know, I go through it quite a bit. I have quite a few plants. So this is definitely affordable. You can find it literally anywhere. And my plants love it, you guys. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to do a video. My next video is going to be like just plant glow ups, like outside of Hoya. Just plants in my collection that have totally taken off in the last couple months, like just unbelievable growth. So yeah, I'm excited for it, and I hope you will stick around. That is all I have for today, you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. JMO is right here, so I'll pop him up. Oh, here comes Sam, because, you know, jealous. Jealous. Are you jealous? Are you jealous? Can I have a kiss? Can I have a kiss? Can I have a little kiss? Thank you so much. Okay, you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, all the things. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. We'll see you in the next one.